Kia ora tātou. You know, water's not usually just H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. It can have all sorts of other things in it. Dirt, particles, microorganisms, all sorts of things, particularly if the water is a surface water, like coming from a river or a lake. Groundwater, which you'd get from a bore such as this, may look clear, but it can also sometimes contain microorganisms, including pathogens. There are three main groups of microorganisms: bacteria, viruses, and protozoa. Some bacteria, viruses, and protozoa can make people sick. Those microorganisms we call pathogens. And mostly, these pathogens come from human or animal feces. For water to be safe to drink, we need to control pathogens, and that's why we treat water before we drink it. Kia ora tātou. There are two main ways that we treat water to make it safe to drink. If water's got dirt in it, we need to remove that dirt. And one of the ways we can do it is with a filter, such as this. This is only one kind of filter. There's a number of different kinds. But this is called a cartridge filter, and inside this vessel, a whole lot of these. And the great thing about these is water comes from the outside to the inside. And as it passes through this cartridge, the tiny pores in this cartridge collect the little bits of dirt, little grains of sand, whatever's in there, including protozoa particles, and remove them from the water. After the water's been filtered, or maybe if it's come straight out of the ground and it's very clear, it still may have some microorganisms, bacteria and viruses in it. We need to test it to see just how clear it is. And this little display here has numbers on it which show just how clear that water is. We then need to disinfect it. This is a fantastic piece of kit. This is one way that we can disinfect water. It's called a UV reactor. And water comes in this side and flows past a whole bunch of lamps. These cables are supplying power to the lamps, and the lamps shine UV light onto the water. The water exits out this side. The UV light inactivates any microorganisms that are in that water. It doesn't kill them, but it turns their DNA like spaghetti, and then they can't reproduce, and it's the reproduction of those organisms inside us that makes us sick. So UV disinfection is really good for controlling those microorganisms. Chlorination is a very effective and low-cost way to disinfect water. That means killing microorganisms. It's effective against bacteria and viruses, but it's not so good against some protozoa. That's why we use what's called a multi-barrier approach. In other words, we use chlorine often with another treatment process. It's considered best practice for ensuring that water is safe to drink. Kia ora tātou. Chlorination is a very low-cost and effective way to disinfect water. It kills microorganisms. That's like bacteria and viruses. This is a chlorine dosing plant, and over the back we have a tank of sodium hypochlorite. That's a chlorine solution, and on top of the tank is a very accurate dosing pump which doses just a minute amount of chlorine into the water. When we add just a small quantity of chlorine to water, it kills bacteria and viruses that can make people sick. One of the great things about chlorination is it provides what we call a residual disinfectant. That means it keeps working and protecting the water in the pipes and in reservoirs like these. The public health benefits of chlorinating a water supply are huge. It's a very effective and low-cost way of managing microbiological contamination risks. But lots of people don't like the smell and taste of chlorine. Fair enough. There's actually a number of things you can do. For example, take water from one of these Hastings District Council chlorine removed taps. There's also a bunch of things you can do at home. For example, you can install a carbon filter underneath your sink, or a low-cost option, fill a jug with water and put it in the fridge overnight. I hope you've learned something about how and why we make water safe to drink. Thanks for watching. Mā te wā.